Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio this evening. Rather than leave it sitting on the starting screen just whilst I'm setting up, I thought I might as well drop in. And Bunny Mucks Rose, I apologise, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening, nice to see you. Let me not push that button. Oh, blimey, a lot of people have stayed in the stream from earlier. Let me just push that out to one side so that I can see things. And there we go, okay. Just setting up my screens here so that I can see what I'm doing. And then put away some tools from earlier, or at least push them to That's the problem with the studio, knowing just where to put anything these days. Too many things, and I just keep adding to it. So tonight is going to be finishing off the Punchcraft because I don't think I can manage the carving at the moment. I'm hoping I'll be able to do that tomorrow. It's a bit uncomfortable today, so I shall just carry on with this. And since we finished the jewellery I was doing this afternoon, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You've been ill, Bunny Mucks Rose. I've had a little surgery in the past week, so whilst I haven't been off Twitch actually has helped me take my mind off it because it hurt. But I'm hoping you're feeling better now. You still have a cold. I'm sorry about that. I hate colds. Really don't like them. I get a sore throat, but right at the back of my nose, and it's really painful, and I don't like it at all. But unfortunately there's not a lot I can do about it. So I'm going to carry on with this evening. Trying to think what... No, there's not a lot. I just put up with it and get on with something when I have a cold. I kind of... The more I can take my mind off it, the better I feel. So yes, I'm going to carry on with this. I'm hoping I have enough thread. I'm hoping. I'm not sure. If we haven't and we run out, then there's not a lot I can do because the shop that sells this particular thread is closed until the end of this month. Well, they closed their web store anyway for stock taking. So we shall just carry on. If I do this bit along here, I can always cheat maybe. And well, I can't put blue down there now. Well, I can still cheat if necessary. I can cut it out. Or we could just leave it until we get some more thread, but we shall carry on with this. Thank you very much. Nice of you to say so. A few people seem to have liked seeing the train, so maybe I'll do some more of this stuff in the future. I've only previously been, well, apart from recovery, I've only previously been doing this sort of on Saturday afternoons or Sunday afternoons, but I may well insert it into the main sequence. Trouble is, what am I doing now? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different crafts. If I get to 7, I'll be able to do a different one every night. Monday will be and Tuesday will be, so it'll be what day is it today as to what craft we're doing. But anyway, let's see how we go with this. Actually, I'm going to swap my glasses whilst I remember. These are a little bit... Ow! That was the wrong movement to make. That definitely was the wrong movement to make. You'll have to be a bit careful, if indeed that's a word. These glasses, new glasses, I've a little bit better prescription. I can see a bit clearer with them. I just can't see chat as clear. No, I'm not finished with the dragon carving. I'll show you how far I've got, I don't mind. So we've finished all the background carve down to the carving. Started blocking out the rock that Ruth here is sat on both sides. Not as deep as it wants to go, but I just can't get in at this stage. And started work on shaping, because I don't actually know what shape I want. Rather than going down to the final sort of height and shaping then, what I'm doing is I'm going to shape at this level and then start lowering the whole shape down, and that way I've got plenty of time just to decide where things stop and start, etc. But the reason I'm not carving at the moment is I had some surgery done Thursday last week in my stomach and top and lower stomach area. Just some skin surgery, but it has hurt the stomach muscles. They're somewhat abused, and it pulls on the surgery sites when I'm carving, because he uses stomach muscles quite a bit. I hadn't realised that until I tried it, and it hurt considerably. So I've been avoiding the carving just for a little while until the wound has recovered a little bit, and then I'll go back to it. So I've been doing both this, and actually I made some jewellery this weekend, on yesterday and today, as a present for my wife for her birthday. So I will be back to the carving, but I'll just have to take a little bit of a rest for a little while. Am I okay? Yes, I'm okay. It was kind of preventative surgery, shall we say, just removing some, well, they're called moles or highly pigmented areas, just in case. No, I didn't hit my leg. I pulled on one of the surgery sites a little bit, and it was painful. Shall we say? I was just leant over to one side slightly and pulled the wrong place. So it was kind of just a sudden pain, but it went away. It's not sticking around, I am glad to say, which is an improvement over Saturday. So anybody who's new to the studio this evening, welcome, good evening. I say evening because it's evening in the UK, which is where I am. One of these days I'm going to say something like it's morning, good morning, because it's morning in Australia, but I'm in the UK, so it's completely irrelevant. Yeah, it's my sense of humour, I guess. What you're looking at here is a craft form called Punchcraft. I'm using a reasonably sharp needle to push thread through this material, creating a loop on the other side, which is forming the image. So you're looking at the back of the picture here, not the front. Even though the back sort of still looks reasonably okay anyway. But this is indeed the back. The front resembles more a carpet or a rug than the back does. Just Jessup, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Yeah, a little bit delicate. I'm okay, just odd times now when you move in the wrong direction. It particularly makes itself known. When will it heal? There's stitches in there at the moment. They should be removed by the end of this week. So the wounds themselves should be healed in a couple more days, or at least enough to be able to support themselves by Friday without the need for the stitches. But thank you for asking. Yeah, one thing I always try and do with Punchcraft is try and keep straight lines. It's just, yeah, no particular reason, but it's just something that I do. It makes it easier to try and space things out a little bit. But as you can see, my attempt to create a straight line is nothing short of terrible. No, it wasn't Junior. Junior actually, to say he was a feral cat, completely wild. He's a surprisingly gentle cat. He will bite if you do something he doesn't like, or at least he'll put his teeth on you. Don't think he actually bites down, but there again, I don't usually give him the chance to think about it. But he'll rarely lash out with his claws at all. Usually, all he does is he'll put his he'll put his jaws, his teeth on you. But otherwise, he's a surprisingly gentle cat. When he doesn't sort of leap on you or anything, he'll walk gently onto you, and he does do what a lot of cats do when they're feeling happy. They sort of put the, well, we call it paddling, but they put their paw on you and sort of almost massage you. But of course, in doing that, their claws are coming out as they're bending the fingers over, and so they just put the tips of the claws into you, but they're sort of just doing this, which actually is a movement they did as kittens to stimulate milk production in their mothers, and it makes them really happy when they do that. So if a cat's doing that to you, he's really happy to be where he is. And whatever it is that you're doing to him, or her, that is. Now the one I'd have to watch out for is Felix. Felix just lands. He will come alongside the chair and he'll just leap. But he doesn't leap enough to just land on you like most cats do. He leaps higher and then comes down on 4 very small feet, usually right in the middle of your stomach. Oh, if it's on a desk, of course, it just scatters everything everywhere. I don't attack him. Can't have people thinking I attack my cat. It's when Just Jessup saw it, he was sat on the desk and I was trying to pick him up from the front. I don't know if he's got a side of him which hurts a little bit or something like that, because sometimes it just seems to be his right side he doesn't like to be picked up on. But if you try and pick him up from the front, he rarely likes it. He usually complains. If you pick him up from behind him, he doesn't seem as bothered by it. But as I say, that could be because one side of him is uncomfortable or something like that. Junior. So found him then, or what? Sorry, just yes, we asking how we came across him. Came across. Well, he didn't. He moved in by himself. He kept coming around the house for something like about 2 years before my wife managed to. He'd come and sit on the doorstep, and if the door was open, he'd sort of tentatively come in, but he'd immediately run out if he saw anybody. But after yes, that's right. My wife's just reminded me. He'd come in actually and watch the television. But if he saw any movement at all, he'd dash straight out the door. But gradually she got to be able to feed him and to be able to actually touch him. And then he gradually just basically moved in. And of course then he annoyed my wife totally silly because one night he just decided to go to sleep on my knee, never having sat on any before. And he laid there with his the typical cute cat, laid on his back, paws in the air, fast asleep for about 2.5 hours till I had to move. And he seems to have preferred sitting on me ever since. Which really disappoints my wife. Dear. How long will you wait until? I'm going to try again tomorrow night. I think I should be okay, but I'll see. I'll try it, and if it bothers me, then I'm not going to be silly about it. Bunny Mox Rose. I'll try it. If I'm okay, I'll continue. If I'm not, I shall do something else. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Just as not carving now. No, carving would do it. And I did just move to pick up my glasses, and I just got a twinge. But yeah, okay. Well, fine. It'll be. My wife is convinced that she knows exactly how long it'll be.
Been there, done it.
Yes, that's true. You have had similar. Where are all the cats now? Actually, have no idea. Junior is probably out, because he does spend a lot of time outside. And when he's not, he's either in a box on the lounge floor, sat next to my wife, but he wasn't there earlier, so he's probably out, or he sits on my desk here, somewhere around, and he's not here yet. Felix, which is the one that dashes around all over the place, he's probably laid on our bed at the moment. Yes, my wife says he is. And Cleo, well, Cleo is generally to be found anywhere around my wife or on my wife when she sits downstairs, and when she's not sat in the chair, Cleo is as close to it as she can get usually, just in case my wife sits down in the chair. She's a cat that just appears on my wife's knee. She never comes near me at all. I think perhaps what it is I tend to sit still for longer. Oh, it was originally. I'd sit still for a lot longer than my wife would, and of course, they get the chance to just sit there, which is kind of surprising. Cats, I don't know, all our cats that we've had have got this amazing ability. They'll sit on your knee or around your neck or whatever, and they'll sit there for ages. You can move about without too much of a problem, but as soon as you think of getting up to make a cup of coffee, they'll jump down and get off, as though they've read your mind and are quite happy for you to do it. But there must obviously be some slight difference in movement that cues them to the fact that they're going to need to move, and they do it before they're told. Dillybug, good evening, welcome. I've probably got a bigger knee as well, but there again, Cleo's always sat on my wife, so she's a female cat, and male cats do not like disturbing female cats. So you know that's probably why he very rarely will sit on my wife. He does sit by her quite a lot. He'll sit on the floor by a chair, but he won't actually jump up. They can be nice, they can also be a nuisance. You have to put up with cat hairs all over the place. No matter what you do, they always appear. And of course they have to be looked after and taken to vets and things like that. So, and unfortunately they don't live as long as we do. We have had 8 at one point. Four cats and 4 kittens. That was interesting, shall we say. That was Cleo actually. She moved in pregnant. She moved in of her own accord. And she was pregnant and had 4 kittens. We already had 3 cats at the time. I've had a dog for about 2 weeks once, which is a long story, but my grandparents had some Jack Russells. They got 3 puppies, and I had one of the puppies for about 2 weeks, and then unfortunately one of the others had some sort of really bad infection or something like that. It didn't survive, and so because the other one had been used to being with a playmate, if you like, the puppy that I had went back to live with them, so they could be together. You know, they could still be together, if you like. They like Jack Russells apparently also, you know, do actually prefer, I understand, to be with another one. So yes, I've had a dog for a very short period of time, but not since then now. And just yes, my wife's allergic to cat hair. Long-haired cats particularly. Short-haired ones are not too bad. And she's kind of got used to them now, shall we say. Occasionally if one's been rolling around in pollen or grass or something like that, she'll start to develop an allergy again, but largely speaking she's got over her allergy of cats. I think if she went to a cat show and started stroking a long-haired cat or something like that, then not that they let you stroke them at cat shows, but it'd probably affect her. Sometimes people who are allergic to cats, they aren't actually allergic to cats. They're either allergic to just any sort of fine hair. The fine hair irritates them, and that can come off all sorts of animals and people actually, as well as material like fluffy jumpers. And sometimes what they're actually allergic to is the environment that the cat's been in. As I say, like in summer when a cat, say, been rolling on the grass, somebody could actually be allergic to the grass pollen. But because the cat's brought it in and you didn't have it before you saw the cat, then you know, people naturally assume it's the cat that they're actually allergic to. By the way, if you're if you are allergic to cats and you're in a house and you don't want the cat to sit on you or come near you, look at it, and the cat more than likely will then avoid you, because it's a mildly aggressive stance is looking at a cat. People who are allergic to cats or don't like cats have a tendency not to look at the cat. They avoid looking at it, which the cat takes as being friendly, so we'll come and see you. So if you look at it, I won't say stare at it, but you know, keep looking at it. They'll just either take you as some sort of rival and just avoid you, or at least take it as, you know, you're not being particularly sociable to them. '84 Guy, welcome, good evening. Nice to see you again in the studio this evening. I've been looking through the candy store again. Actually, I've been looking through two candy stores again. The eBay one and the other one. I beg your pardon? No, I'm not going to speak. My wife's on the landing and she's reminding me to keep the secret of her birthday present. Some of you guys know what it is. I'm not sure we can get wrapping paper big enough for it though. Okay, not surprising, Liza. I don't know exactly. Not surprising, because of course they use quite a bit of it on their fur to wash themselves and keep clean. But welcome to the studio. Thank you for that. You know very well what it is, just Jessup. You are not gonna tempt me to saying out loud at the moment. Nope. My wife agrees with that. Oh, her birthday it's about another 2 weeks. 84 guy. I can keep it quite easily. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with keeping secrets. I can and I can tease her somewhat rotten in for over 2 weeks. No, oh, you're gonna give me Cleo, are you? Now let me just move that to one side so you can see the other cat, which you've not seen before. My wife's just brought this one. Oh, come on, it's all right. She's been washing her tummy.
Yep.
You're going to look up at the camera? No. This is Cleo. This is the female pussycat. She's quite a small cat. Cleo, you're going to look upwards? Fortunately the camera's kind of fixed and I can't really move it. Oh, she might even settle down. I can tilt it a little bit. So that's Cleo. She's been washing her tummy because her fur's all wet. So that enzyme you were talking about will be all over her now. You're trying to decide where to go. You're not comfortable here, are you? Yeah, that's racing a little bit. You're looking for a way down? Or are you just looking for somewhere to settle down? Oh no, there we go. I have a cat sat on my knee now. So this is Cleo. So it looks like, let me just pop that up there. I minimised the screen, just Jessup, but thank you. Yeah, she is somewhat. I don't know. She doesn't particularly like being cuddled much or hugged, but she's settled down, but she's a bit wary. She's not quite settled. She's sort of half settled. She possibly will go to sleep. She very rarely comes into the studio at all. She just doesn't come into this part of the house. Dear. I think she's looking out for one of the other cats as well. They all sort of get on, but they kind of avoid each other a little bit as well. Unless there's food involved, and then all bets are off. They're as friendly as anything if there's food involved. Oh well, she may just stay here. Let's leave her there for now, and let's see if we can carry on with this. Yeah, I know you guys want the kitty cam, don't you? Yeah, well, I can't afford a kitty cam at the moment. Need to save up for one of those. If somebody wants to donate a kitty cam, then whenever there's a kitty around, you can have a view of whichever one it is. Oh dear. She's sitting here, but she's laid here, but she's kind of keeping an eye out. She has just when a cat settles, it tucks its front paws under, and she's just done that now, so that means she's not expecting to jump up and leap away. Thank you, Leazar. Leazar thinks you're pretty, Cleo. She thinks you're beautiful. She thinks you're beautiful. Now, I offer you the choice of either a continued view of the kitty cat or a view of what I'm actually doing with the Punchcraft. A screenshot. Oh, it's okay, no problem. A 1 hour stream of kitties. Oh no, she's going. I didn't think she was particularly comfortable being here. Okay. She got interrupted on the way out by a plate of a plate that had sausages on it. So, I guess that decides what you want a view of, because you don't want a view of my stomach. Nowhere near as interesting as the kitty cat. Actually, it is zoomed out. You settle for half and half, okay. Well, if one of them comes back, I'll remind you. But half and half would just be sort of, a bit of fur just across this sort of bit of the camera here. I know that the faces are the interesting bit. She's not particularly comfortable being over here. I don't think any of the cats actually physically attack her or anything like that, and with her being a female in any case, yeah, she's kind of got the upper hand over the male cats anyway. But she does seem wary of them. Yeah, sorry, she's gone. But I'm not, our cats are free to do what they want in that respect. We don't force them. 3D Bloke, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Probably because she's just been washing it. Bunny Mox Rose. Normally her tail's quite thin. It's surprising how much bulk of a cat is just from their fur being fluffed out. Don't think it was Felix, but certainly one of our male cats once accidentally slipped into a bath full of water and came out a quarter of the size of what he went in. Yeah, Cleo has left the room. She's either now gone and sat somewhere where my wife is, or she's gone back into the lounge where she's most comfortable. Leanne Freeman, where in the UK can I get the thread you're using? Webster's. If you look up on the, I'll see if I can find a URL. But if you look up on the internet, Webster's and Punchcraft. Oh, Webster. Punch. Oh, that'll do. Yeah, websters.co.uk. So copy that and paste that. There you go. That's the website of the manufacturer of this thread and this tool, actually. Unfortunately, though, they've closed their web store. You can still order, I understand, but they've closed the web store now until the 26th of May for stock taking. Yeah. Anyway, so any orders will be delayed until after then, which is a pity because I need some more thread. Oh, I don't think... Oh, you've got a cat, Leazar. Male or female? What is it? Kiara. It's quite a nice name. I think if any of ours that have got wet, they're immediately, not fantastically happy. They'll leap out and go everywhere. We did have one male cat that quite liked water. I don't know whether he'd actually like swimming or anything like that, but if you turned the tap on, he'd sit in the sink and bat at the water, and all the time, his feet and his bottom would be getting soaking wet, and he'd just play with the water, and he didn't mind that at all. Phase on addiction. You came for the thumbnail of the cat. Oh, you probably that was when I was doing the pyrography. So it would have been either that one or that one. Not sure which one you. Or that one. Not sure which of these two you'd have seen. Well, the other two get just Jessup. The other two get so much exposure because, well, Junior because he visits by himself. Felix does occasionally, but my wife sort of just brought her up just for you guys to see, and I'll tell her. Just Jessup says, "Bless you." Yes, I could indeed do that. Now that I've finished the present Bubbles the Monkey, I do have a perler kit sat at that side of the room. I just need to think of something to do it with. Not do it, what image to do. I'm not sure, 3D bloke. It's a relatively small firm. They've been around for a long time, but I gather it's just like a family firm. They seem to be in a big mill or something like that. But yeah, I'm guessing they've probably got thousands and thousands of reels of things, and if it's anything like when I first got the kit that I got first of all to ever do it a long time ago, I can't show you exactly, but there's some colours that because I haven't got them out. But there's some. Let's say they give you those two. But if you looked on the photograph, you'd be looking and going, well, the photographs, because they wouldn't number them. The photographs were numbered of the threads. So they say this is number 4, and I don't know, this is what, number 16. But you'd look at the photographs and you'd try and match the colour to the photograph, and that wouldn't match anything. And you'd be, well, what colour is that? So if they're anything like that in the factory, they've got hundreds of reels of this stuff, and they'll be going, well, is that this colour? Or is they might take them a week just to decide what the colours are. I actually had to visit them. I could not do it. I literally would try all sorts of things because there is a kit with all 48 colours in it, and you've got one of each. But when you started trying to compare them, I just couldn't do it, and I eventually visited them and bought a complete set. But I said, please, can you actually write on the numbers for me? And then ever since, I've just kept it up. So every time I run out of that, I'll order another 16, and I keep the bobbins when I run out, and I've got a lot to one side of me here until I actually get the replacement and I've numbered it. Hopefully, generally speaking, I don't get they don't run out of two similar but different colours at the same time, because then I might have a problem, but we shall see. Oh, Chiara and Marmalade. Both females. I bet Marmalade's a lovely orange colour, isn't it? Okay, have a good afternoon, morning, evening, Bunny Moxrose. Hope you feel better soon. Yeah, trouble with the Pantone colour chart though, Free, is you need a printout in Pantone Pure Colours to do it. Because yeah, I'm not dropping any frames again. I am back on London. Maybe I ought to next stream switch back to Amsterdam or something. One of the Netherlands servers, perhaps. Yeah, the problem with any of the colour references, Free, is you're either working from a photograph that they've sent, sorry, a printout, and of course, unless they've got a Pantone accurate printout, which is unlikely, or you got a Pantone accurate screen and they've got a Pantone accurate image on the screen, you still don't stand a chance of matching them. I don't know why they don't just label them anyway, you know. I know it would cost more, but you know, just something, even if it was only like a paper label around the thing or something like that. Because the kits that they do, they give you, if you buy a kit, they give you all the cotton that you need for the kit. But quite often there's a lot of single reels, and if you wanted to buy another, no, I suppose they give you the numbers, so you might get away with it. But I was kind of thinking the kits you can reuse, because all you need is some more material, the patterns that comes in the kit, and they give you the patterns. You can reuse. So, but you know, it's if you looked at the colours rather than if you didn't have the numbers. But then I suddenly realised, of course, the numbers are printed onto the patterns, so you don't have that problem. But yeah, just a simple, you know, numbers of some kind. It's stuck in the end or something. It's alright when you buy one or two, but it's because you know what you've bought. But when you buy sort of a whole raft of them, and you just can't tell them apart. Especially if you're doing things like this, because this obviously is my pattern, and I've just gone, I'll tell you what, I'll use that colour because I like, you know, that colour, or it suits where I'm using it. And then if you'd no idea what the number was and you ran out and wanted to buy another one, then it would be a real problem. Mind you, having said that, I haven't ordered from them for a couple of years now at least, so they may well do something different now. Yes, that's true. I've noticed that. I've got two. That's jamming. I've got some reds where they were the same number but completely different colours. It's not these, if you like, but just as an example, I've got some like this bright red and some of this slightly darker red, and they're the same number. I noticed whatever the red it is, I don't know now, but and it might well be those two. I did notice it when I was doing this, and I thought, hey, they're the same ones. So right, I had the thread jam, so I was busy doing this and pulling thread out. It's still jammed. Something's jammed. Yeah, something. I've got a fluff ball in the end of the needle there. It has to go through the side of the needle smoothly, otherwise it doesn't actually stay in the material. And all that happens is you keep punching it further on, if you don't realise, it just starts pulling out the stitches, for want of a better description, that you've already done as you get further and further away. So you have to keep an eye on what you're doing, otherwise you end up undoing what you've been doing. You do need a pair of sharp scissors as well. Yeah, with the batches, yeah. And that's it's kind of a problem with the batches, because and Chris obviously finds it as well, because if I've got halfway through this and I suddenly get a slightly different blue for the sky, for example, there's not a lot I can do about it. You know, because you know, I've got a straight line here. It's not as though if I'd have known, I might have left a curved line or something like that, which would sort of half make sense. And maybe that's an argument for always thinking, hey, I might need to switch to a different batch, but you never think about that sort of thing until you actually run out, and then you suddenly get one that doesn't match. Cleo cat hairs. Now got them on this piece. They're forever depositing whiskers as well. You keep finding these white whiskers. I'll say good evening to anybody new to the studio who's just joined in the last little while. Welcome. It's quite alright to lurk here if that's what you wish to do, but if you want to say hello in the chat, there's some very friendly people around. And if you have any particular questions about this or any other of the crafts that you will have seen me or may see me do, or then or hope you'll see me do, then feel free to ask. If you're not altogether certain about what I'm doing here or what else I do, I shall give you a quick rundown. What you're looking at here is Punchcraft. I'm doing is using this, it's not quite as sharp as, but effectively like a hypodermic needle, to push this thread through this cloth out onto the other side, and then I withdraw the needle, so I create a loop of thread on the other side, and that loop of thread is what actually forms the picture. So what you're looking at here is the back of the working side, and you're seeing all the stitches, for want of a better description. I will shortly turn it over and let people have a look at how it looks, but it forms on the other side very much the same sort of thing you would see looking at a carpet, except this has got a picture on it. Some of the other crafts that I do are wood carving, relief wood carving, so that's kind of like an object stuck to a backboard or of some kind. So it doesn't stand alone. It's not a full 3D object. I also do scraper board. Scraper board is effectively card to which a layer of porcelain clay has been bonded and rolled, so it's really smooth and thin, and then a layer of Indian ink is then actually it's actually rolled over the top, and then dries, and you then scrape the Indian ink off using sharp tools and really revealing white underneath, depending on the size, shape, thickness, etc. of the scrapes that you make. You can create images from them. I also I also do a craft whose name has completely escaped me, which pyrography, which is using a heated tool on wood, which draws out the sap or the resin within the wood fibres, cooks it, turning it a brown colour, and then that's then left on the surface of the wood, also creating images. If you were on the stream a little bit earlier, you'll have seen two that I've done before, of two of the pussycats. What I also do, that's pyrography, that's carving, and the scraper board, and there's this. And we have started a new craft as well, which is something I can't say because I think my wife's still around. And since it was, since I used that craft to make her a birthday present on stream yesterday and today, I don't actually want to say with her around, because then she'd know what she was getting for her birthday. Okay, yeah, I kind of have noticed some of that on some of the ones that I got, AD. Not too bad, but I think there was at least one colour that I had two different versions of. I forgot what it was now. It was the gold or the yellow. The yellow had that problem. You are debating whether you're friendly, Just Jessup. Why should you not be friendly? Merthus M, welcome to the studio. Good evening, and thank you for stopping by. I make it look easy. Thank you very much for that. Although in this particular case, it is relatively easy craft to do. There's no particular, the skill, if you like, is just comes in with an image like this, which is one I've created for myself. Is the skill comes in knowing how much detail you can put in, or when to do away with the detail. So when you don't need it. So putting in the essential bits that make it recognisable to somebody who knows what it is, and at least to some people who don't know what it is, but know it looks like a train. With this particular tool, I can also create some sculpting effects. So actually, I'll turn it over. I've got to keep the needle in though, otherwise I'll start pulling threads out, and I've noticed it's a bit thin around there, so we'll take a note of that later. If I have enough thread, I'll fill in a bit more around there. So some of this area around here is sculpted, for example. There's some areas which stand out more than others, and that can help in making things, some of the details that you couldn't otherwise get in, making them more visible, and actually make it more tactile as well. And I've used it also on the edges, in that I've created a rounded edge here. which makes it a little bit nicer and looks a lot more, how do I put it, these, if I didn't round the edges off, what you get is this doesn't look too bad, but it does tend to look a bit ragged at times because there's nothing supporting this side of the loops. Whereas by sculpting it, and sculpting it means not pushing the needle through quite so much, what I can do is create some little tiny loops which are basically self-supporting, and they support the next set which supports the next set, and therefore I can get quite a nice rounded smooth edge that doesn't look ragged, for example. So that's really only the real skills that are involved in this. Otherwise, essentially it is as simple as you're seeing it, which is pushing a needle through material. You can get kits, and you can also get ready drawn patterns. So this is one I've drawn for myself, but you can get your own, and then it really is like a colouring book. All you need to do is fill in the spaces. I'm doing this across in lines like this. You can go any direction you like. You can go backwards and forwards. You can go round in circles, diagonals, anything you like. It's not. It actually isn't very critical at all in that respect. There is a direction in which it's best to hold the needle, where you don't actually get any sound when you push it through. That's quite difficult to find, but it's just rotating the needle. But it doesn't actually matter. The crunch, if I shut up long enough, that you're hearing is actually threads breaking in the material, and it is a, I hesitate to say special material, but it's not a common material, shall we say. They describe it as a twill. I don't know what that means, but I gather it's at least a 3-layer fabric, and that because of that, when you do break threads rather than push between them, it doesn't create great big holes like it would do in another material, like a piece of cotton, for example. But the only other level of skill, I think, is in making sure that they're close enough together to pack reasonably tidily on the other side. If you're creating splinters, Murthas, when you're carving, I would say either your tools are not sharp or not sharp enough, or the other one would be you're carving in the wrong direction according to the grain. That's usually how you end up with splintering and like that. You feel as though I'm streaming through a couple of sites. As far as I know, I'm only streaming through one site. I'm not dual streaming anyway. Braden Beats, good evening, welcome to the studio. Okay, Laser, thank you very much for that. Yep, I'll need to Twitch. I have looked at one other, but there's not great facilities on there at the moment. I did think about dual streaming. I'm not giving up Twitch. It'd be a dual stream if I did it at all. And somebody very nicely came on stream the other night trying to advertise their own streaming service. If I wanted to join their streaming service, there would be all these benefits, and I said, okay, give me a PM with the details, I'll take a look, and they haven't, so too bad. But no, just through the one. Okay, well, fair enough. No problem. If you know why you're causing it, that's not a problem. I'm not a fantastically experienced carver, but I've had some experience, and I've had quite a few questions from people that have experiences like that, like the wood splitting, or they're leaving off bits of wood that they didn't want to cut off and things like that. So if you know what and why, that's great. We're getting down on this thread. There's okay, thank you very much for dropping in. Have a good sleep, a good evening. Thank you very much for dropping into the studio. That's great to have you around, and your excellent knowledge on cat allergies. And I hope your 2 cats, assuming they are allowed to do so, come and cuddle up to you while you sleep. We should be back to carving tomorrow night anyway, with a bit of luck anyway. I will, as I have done, I'll see how, whether it causes me any pain to do so, and if it doesn't, then I'll be carving tomorrow. If it does, then we'll be doing something else tomorrow night, but hopefully it should be back to normal before long. Martha Sam, thank you very much for following the studio. Most excellent of you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate any and everybody that follows the studio. It's great to have you all around, and I'm glad you're enjoying what you're seeing. Link GTR, hi, welcome, good evening, nice to see you in the studio this evening. I'll answer that in a second, Martha. What's that tool called? It's called a punch tool, probably because of punching it through the material, but that's just what the manufacturer call it, is a punch tool, and quite a few other manufacturers of similar things just describe them as punch tools. I guess it's just punching, comes from punching the needle through the fabric. Touch and go, just Jessup, I think, as to whether we're going to run out of fabric thread. We're going to go at least until we run out of thread, or we finish the picture, whichever comes first. The reason carving is causing me pain, Murthas, is I had some skin surgery on Thursday of last week on my stomach area, upper and lower stomach area, and the wounds have been stitched up, of course, but as I didn't realise, but when you're carving, you tense your stomach muscles up to support some of what you're doing, and that pulled on the surgery sites, which is painful, and it's still causing me a little bit of pain to certain movements as well. And I did try last night doing a little bit of carving before my stream, but as soon as I started to try and push the chisel, and I'm only using hand tools, so it's not a lot of force, but it was just uncomfortable, shall we say, highly uncomfortable. So I'm just avoiding it a little bit until that goes away, which should, well, I say, hopefully I'll be okay tomorrow. But that's the reason why it's causing me pain. Stabbing the fabric. Well, at least you can take out some frustration, I guess. I like the sound. Even though the ideal sound is not a sound, but there is, in one particular position of the needle, with relation to the thread, there's a lovely crunching sort of noise as opposed to a snap, and I love that sound if I can get it, but it doesn't. The ideal sound is no sound, because that means you've pushed the needle between the threads of the fabric. But it is designed that, you know, the fabric is woven such that when you're doing this, it doesn't. It's not particularly damaged by its having its threads broken. I have gone over the same piece, pulled the thread out and gone over the same piece before, 4 or 5 times, and not had a problem with it at all. Although by the time you're doing it about the third or even the 4th time, you are going back into some of the holes you've already created, which works perfectly well. What I am hoping is the area is getting smaller as we move towards the front here, so I'm hoping we use less thread and therefore it will go further, but I am highly suspicious now we're going to run out of thread. And I can't start spacing them out or anything like that, because it just will look not as good on the other side. So if I run out, it's a case of just having to wait for the shop to reopen. Well, I'll place the order, but I won't get it well the end of the month. Oh, you do full log carving methods. That's interesting. I've never got that far. The nearest I've got to something like that. Actually, I must remember. We have some trees cut down. Maybe I'll grab some. I did take a bit of firewood. Where is it gone? There we go. A split log, and turn it into a fish. The shape spoke to me of being a fish, but this actually was done with rotary carving tools. So a medium speed, what was it? Foden shaft drive motor with something like a big three-quarter inch burr. And then a small micro motor to try and get in around. Not very great, not very good, but considering it's the first time I'd ever used those tools, I'm quite pleased with it. It's nice. It's a nice feel to the wood. It's a bit rough. I should sand it one of these days, but I enjoyed it. That's the main thing, and I've got to learn how to use the tools more than anything. So, but it's, you know, out of just a piece of firewood. I love watching the guys who do things with chainsaws and big Arbortech wheels and things, but I'm not about to. Well, I'm not about to start and try do that. To which AD is about to say yet. Given that we are potentially going to have some trees cut down, then I could maybe grab some of the logs, and then it might be worth buying an Arbortech wheel, but and having a go when they've dried out a little bit. I've no idea what I'd do though with something, you know, with a tree log. I mean, I know there's the obvious, it's a chair, but at least one reason I like carving is the sound of that as well. Ah, you do Renaissance fairs. Ah. Yeah, they do like that sort of thing. Yeah. I was the sort of thing I was trying to get Mirth to send with that one is, you know, like a salmon leaping out the water type of thing. Yeah, everybody says yet. The legend said, hello, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. No, that's right, AD. Oh dear. My stream is getting to know me too well. I'm talking too much. They're for those that don't know, they're it's a mild little dig at me and the way I love trying new things all the time, and it's a few weeks ago I've been looking at people doing you know, these plastic fuse beads for a while and thought they look interesting, and then although she's perhaps not aware of it, oh boy, you know, memory sieve comes to mind again. Bubbles the Monkey. I watched Bubbles the Monkey for a while, and she does the beads as the beads, and I talked to her about it, and she told me about this manufacturer that, because I'm in Europe, getting hold of the beads is not necessarily easy, shall we say, but she told me about a European manufacturer and how they did kits, and I went and took a look and I bought a kit, and it's actually sat at the other side of the room, as some people mentioned at the start of the stream, to be started. And I kind of did the same thing. I came across the guy in the stream there, 84 guy, who does sorry, just checking my wife's around, who does chainmail jewellery, makes some beautiful jewellery, and I watched him, absolutely fascinated by it, and then I think on one of my streams he showed me some of his bag charms, and I said I'd buy a couple, and indeed I did, and he showed me another picture of 4 and said, which 2 would you like? And I said, I'll have both those 2 please. All 4. But then I just watching him do it, I just got so fascinated I wanted to try, and Adie's helped me try something out. So the only other thing I sort of quite like watching on Twitch at the well, there's lots of things I like watching on Twitch, but the one I watch regularly is the glass blowers. Puck Ranger something or other, I can't remember the number on the end. But that was something that was I said I'm not going to do glass blowing, I'm not going to get a propane torch and The comment from the stream was yet. A destructive personality. I don't know about destructive. A creative personality. I love making things. And well, I've got to say, yeah, so this is breaking threads. I don't know, on wood, the sound I like is the sound that says it's being cut properly. So it's not the ripping sounds, it's the nice swish that says your knife's done or your blade's done the right thing. I'm not burning. I'm cooking things. You cook the resin. It literally sits on the top like a varnish. I don't generally go as hot enough to actually burn the wood and carbonise it. Yeah, Poker Ranger 72. That's it. Thank you. The only thing that with Poker Ranger is he tends to do one piece, then disappear for a long time and come back and do another. Makes it kind of a little bit hard to watch. He was doing that last night, I think it was. I think in about 2 hours of watching his stream, he did one piece, and I'm not actually sure what it was he did. But I do find glass blowing and the glass art like that absolutely fascinating. As a kid on holidays, if you went near a jeweler or a jewellery type shop or a glassware shop where somebody actually worked in the shop doing that, I'd stand there for hours and watch them. Come out then with orange spots in my eyes, but I'd watch them for hours. If my parents let me, that is, and they didn't want to go do something else. We're getting near the end. I don't think we're going to have enough thread for this. Oh wow! Yeah, I guess that's the dangerous thing, isn't it, with glass when it cools down and explodes. That probably explains his comments yesterday about if the glass isn't welded properly, then it has a tendency to explode. That does tend to worry me about glass. I can't, You know, having molten glass suddenly explode all over the place doesn't seem like a good idea to me. It was quite funny though, from the point of view of people asking why he was wearing sunglasses. And people were it was also funny because people were explaining that there were safety glasses, but of course the darkened glasses so you can actually see what he's doing, and that the safety glasses as well, of course, was a bonus. There, we're getting low. I'm almost certain there's not going to be enough. Of course, having said that, you never know. I found I can't actually judge how many are needed. I thought one reel would be enough to do all this sky, and this is my second full reel. And I think this reel is something like about 60 or 100 yards, something like that. It's a heck of a lot of thread. Yep, just a moment. I've got to keep the needle in so I don't, but there we go. That's the front of the piece. How long have I been doing this piece? Better be cool, by the way. Welcome to the studio. About 9 hours, give or take a little bit. It's a bit hard to judge because of I tend to stop working when I'm talking to people, and so 8-9 hours, something like that. I've not done any for quite a long time, so I'm a little bit slow as well at it, and daft as it sounds, there's quite a lot of colour changes here. I probably could have speeded up by not changing colour quite as often, but I have a tendency to like start at the front and work my way across. Better be cool. Thank you very much for following. That is fantastic of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I tend to like to start and work my way across, and that way, because it helps keep all of the threads bunched together, and you can see it a lot better. But then it means I'm changing colours a lot. If I'd gone through, I said, and done all the red, and then done all the the yellow and the gold and the black, and dotted all over the place, then it probably would have shaved maybe an hour off it. Because whilst it's not difficult to thread that needle, it does take a couple of minutes, and they do add up. Thank you, Tillybug, and thank you to Tillybug's dad. Thank you as well, Better Be Cool. Oh, I'm not trying to finish the spool. I am going to finish the spool. Now, what I said was the stream will last at least as long as either finishing the spool or finishing the piece, whichever comes first. But if we've got some time left, I can do some scraper board. I've got one that I've not yet finished, so I will have something to do on the stream. I'm not going to start carving tonight, but I can do that because I don't have another one of these prepared or anything like that, so I can't just jump into another one. But if one of the things people often think it's soft, it is quite soft, but it's soft like a carpet. If you run your hands over a carpet, a medium grade carpet, it's the threads are quite tightly packed. So they are, it's a firm softness, shall we say. And that needle's just pulled out, which is not what I wanted it to do, but anyway. but it is quite because I've put some three-dimensionality into it. It's quite tactile as well. You know, the train buffers here stand out. The train bogies, the sides of them stand out. The underneath is dented in, and you can feel that by running your fingers over it. Now I just want to carefully pick up the needle because I don't want to pull threads out of the material. Oh, that's what's happened. I push there's a button here which releases the needle back in for protection and to set the size of the depth, and I pushed that by accident, so the needle shot in. So now I'm going to waste a little bit of thread, and I haven't got that much left, and it just doing that pulled out a couple of the stitches. Never mind. It's not even going to be close, folks. There's going to be a fair bit left to do when this thread runs out. It was either that or it was going to be sort of like 2 rows left needing to be done when we run out of thread. So enough to be visible, but not enough to stand out. The perler beads, no, I don't have anything prepared that I want to do with it at the moment. Just Jessup. I don't know what I want to do with that, so I don't want to just, ideally I don't want to do just anything. I'd like to do something that is a reasonable thing. Kieli, I hope that's pronounced correctly. Thank you very much for following. That is most excellent of you. I do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, well, it's a relatively easy hobby to do, is this one. I say you can buy kits, you can buy patterns. So once you've got the threads, you can do it, or you can make your own up from any, I won't say any picture because you can't have too detailed a picture, but they are relatively easy to do. Most of the ones I've done previously have been of cats, as you might guess. We've had a fair few, and it's a different kind of portrait. Hey, maybe I'll have to try earthrising this as well. For those who aren't familiar with that, it's a picture of Earth taken from the moon as it just rises above the horizon. Be a heck of a lot of black thread, but the moon would be the hardest challenge on that. Trying to get it, because there's kind of only 1 or 2 greys. There's a light grey and a dark grey cotton. could always do some Christmas decorations. I'd do it using the shiny polyester thread though, something like Christmas trees or a couple of Santas, something like that, or snowmen. I'd use a different tool for it. I use a red version of this, and it works with polyester thread, which is a lot more shinier and thinner. And so you create a sort of a smaller image and finer detail. But what you do is, you create two copies of the same thing essentially, looking from different sides if they're not symmetrical. And then you spread fabric glue over the back and then stick them back to back. So you can create like a hanging Christmas decoration. We're getting close, we're almost gone from the reel. There it is, it's fallen off the reel. So almost all that's there left now is what's in the length of the tool. And there we go, it's disappeared inside now. I shall keep going as long as I can. That's it, we're gone, we're empty. Good night, Eddie, Fall Guy. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for doing that. I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much, Eddie. But who's bananas? I hope you're not saying I'm bananas better than cool. For what, Merthyr? For something like this? Really, don't know. I kind of say this, what you're looking at is about 10 hours of work. So what do you think it would be? I mean, I could work that out as a straight, that's this size if you like, because okay, there's colour changes in there and there's thread material and things obviously. So I mean, we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gone through about seven full reels of thread and probably about a few others, about half. But what would you think? I've never actually costed one up, so
Not giving that away.
I didn't say I was. My wife has said this one isn't for sale, and she wants this one. I literally don't know. Let's Okay, I do sort of have a sort of price in my mind, which would be for the labour without the materials involved, and it would depend on whether there's a frame included, and for postage to the States it would be a lot better not to have the frame, because of course the material will roll or fold quite easily, and these frames are readily available. But if you want to make an offer, if it's reasonable, then I would consider it. If it's but I'm sort of fairly ethical. If it's more than I was expecting, then I'd say so. But that's interesting. I didn't say that. I've already said this one isn't for sale. It was right.
There's one to the market.
Yeah, of that style.
Oh.
Right. My wife is desperate that I don't sell this particular piece. Now that's actually quite close, Martha. But we're talking UK pounds, so there's a conversion factor in there, to be honest. So it would, I don't know, would be somewhere probably around the $200 plus shipping. Unfortunately, that's the trouble with a lot of these things. It's the time taken. They're not slow things to do. You know, it's a fast progressing thing, but it's surprising how the hours add up very quickly. As I say, probably I'd probably, you know, whilst this is taking 10 hours, it's probably slightly less than that, but and you know, the materials obviously add into that, but they're not, as somebody put in there, £2.50 I think you said about £2.50 a spool. I think that's what they are in the UK, something like that. Yeah, but another, what, 2.8? We're not at $2.8 to the pound. No way. If we are, then I'm going out and buying a load of dollars. Because that I can't even remember. No. I think your conversion. Well, I don't know. Let me have a look at what the conversion rate is. But I'd be working in UK pounds, so dollar to pound. $1.65. So if we said, oh, you're right. Actually, $300. £200. Yeah, one UK pound is worth more than $1. So £1 is worth $155 at the moment. Yeah, that's right, Lee and Freeman. But it's a little bit variable, as I say, because you know, I've never actually thought about costing one of these things up, and as I say, when you come to do something like that, you do things the fastest way. So it would be things like I'd do all the red first without changing the needle, and then, you know, there's certain ones like the white you have to do first, because you can't punch a thin line through material and get a thin line. You have to do those first, and then do the material around it. And that's why, for example, the lettering here hasn't come through too well, and there's a couple of red marks around here which I did afterwards. I forgot I did them afterwards, and they don't show up as well as the white does because they were done first. But generally speaking, if you get the I'm kind of thinking it would probably be around the 8 hours to do something like that, which of course might make it slightly less. but it does depend on things like the colour changes and stuff like that. But yeah, surprising, isn't it? It surprised me. But this is relatively speaking a big piece, to be honest. The sorts of ones I've done before. Let me get one. I'll get you the what size what I've usually done. Not wrapped. It'd be about $15. It'd be about $15.
I don't know, I'm sure.
Yes, that's right. I'm just showing it here. Ow! Okay, what I've just done is just pick up. This one's a bit dusty. Just pick this up. This is a different pussycat. This is a pussycat called Mindy. As you can see, this is still a sizable image, but it's small compared with this. And this one, because it's not used the whole of the whole of the fabric isn't filled in, so there's probably about 2/3 of the fabric. So this is probably only about 4 hours, 3-4 hours to do something like that. And this one is sculpted as well, so that adds a bit of time to sculpt. But so things like the collar is indented here. There's lines around the face here which are indented, so you can see where the cheeks are, and the whiskers stand proud. But that's what I mean here. For example, where they're not supported, they fluff out quite wide instead of staying as a nice thin. And the inside of the ears are sculpted there as well, so they go in a little bit. But this is going to be probably about half the size of this thing. What's this one? I've forgotten how big this train hoop is. 12 inches. So what's that? Pi D 1236. So it's close on sort of 36 square inches there in that fairly sizable thing. Am I okay? Yes, I'm fine, thank you. Oh no, I just knocked some clothes. My wife has some clothes just hanging off the door frame, and I just knocked one down, that's all. I'm assuming that's what you mean when I went, oh bother. If anybody decides to do this, get yourself a pair of really good sharp scissors. That sort of size scissors, but really sharp ones. These are a little, well, these actually want tightening up, but I can't. Because they've rounded off the screw. The manufacturer's shaved off that screw, and therefore I can't tighten them up. Which is a pity, because these were really nice scissors when I got them. I've got a pair of dressmaking scissors, seamstress scissors around somewhere, which I'll have to dig out because they're better than these. Yeah, no, okay. Hopefully you've understood the ow by now. Yep, no problem. Okay, well, we've got a bit of time left, so what I will do is that unfortunately will now have to go to one side until I can get some more of this blue colour. But I've got a bit of scraper board I can do for a little while. I'll just put Mindy to one side as well. That was one of our, actually Mindy was our first cat. We got her as a kitten, along with a male cat called, a black and white male cat called Maui. And both of them, you could carry them around like a baby. You could carry them around in your arm, laid on the backs. They both loved that, and they'd go to sleep. Well, as kittens especially, they'd go to sleep like that and sleep for hours. And then as an adult cat, Maui would lay around my shoulder like a scarf. Time for the CSI gloves. I'm sort of working on this, which was Earthrise. I'm not going to bother changing the stream title for very long. But I'm going to put gloves on because I don't want to get any finger marks on the black. And I will have to find the tools. There we go. Scraper board, you've got sharp tools, sharp pointy tools basically. A diamond, which is basically a very fine point. You've got something that looks like a rake that I've not used yet. I'm kind of a bit wary about using that one. This is kind of more like a broad scraper, creating broad lines. Got one here which is a gouge, which is either for creating circles by spinning it, or for literally digging out fairly large areas. That's a spare pen. And this one, which is another diamond, but it's a broader diamond, so it's less of a point on it, and therefore you create wider lines when you use it. I could get the other two Punchcraft pictures down, but I'm not going to just Jessup. No, I want my reference picture for this particular. There we go. We just turn the reference picture off on this one, but I'm not. I've got a reference picture just in front of me for Earthrise, which I'm just. But it looks somewhat similar to this. Now then, unfortunately, I can't do much. I can't easily do a lot about the glare off the. Thing, I'm afraid, because all that happens is the camera seems to decide it's going to pick it up whatever I do. I can move it over there, but then you pick up the room light glare as well. Sorry about that. It's with it being black, it's so shiny. All I'm really trying to do with this one is just generally make the moon's surface a little bit brighter and a bit more of a solid sort of colour. I've got a shadow area across here which happened accidentally, but I quite like and I'm keeping. So all this is just hundreds and hundreds of little scratches. And they're little fine scratches, so but you will see as I do it that as I put more of them down in an area, that area starts to look a little bit brighter. So I'm applying very little pressure. You should see now around here it's starting to look brighter than it was. The light could be the sun. Yeah, it could be, except of course the sun would be behind to create this image like this. It's like the moon. The moon, of course, and the Earth doesn't have a light of its own, so it's a reflected light. So to see that sort of half Earth, the light's up actually where the camera is, basically just above the camera. If you were to sort of come up at this sort of angle here, a little bit in front of the camera. I mean, strictly speaking, this shadow shouldn't be here, but it doesn't look out of place. You know, the physics say this area should be lit just as well. And if I actually, I mean, here it looks a bit like it's one of these pictures that looks better from a distance. But if I actually create enough very fine scratches on here, it'll actually look better closer as well. Which is another reason for me wanting to do it, is because I want it to look nice for me when I look at it, not through a camera. In fact, one of the things I found the best way often to do this one, when I did the other one, is I'm looking at my stream preview that's going out on OBS, and I actually see it as though I'm stood several feet away, and I get a better impression of what I'm doing than I do actually looking down at the piece. And it's quite funny. It's going back to the days when I used to use a tablet a lot, and you know, you draw on the tablet but look at the screen, and I'm kind of doing the same thing and relearning some of the hand-eye coordination. I'm being a little bit random as well about where I'm doing it. It would be very easy to over brighten an area and not be able to do that elsewhere. And so if I'm just sort of fairly randomly going over the whole picture, I'm raising the brightness sort of gradually across the whole picture, and it allows me to sort of maintain, you know, the lighter areas that are there already. You get all sorts on my stream: science, technology, electronics, history. So it's at an angle, guys, but actually that's the easiest way for me to work, because I can work, I'm actually wanting to do slightly slanted lines, and it's actually the easiest way for me to do that is to work with the piece at this angle. And what is actually surprising about doing this is just how quickly there's a fine tip on this, and I've just turned the pen over because doing it on that side the tip was effectively blunt. I've just turned it over and I'm getting the sharp edge again. It's rounded over the tip. Which, if I was using a chisel, would be I need time to sharpen it, but with this I just need to turn it over. Oh, that, you mean the funny thing where they thought they were going to create the singularity or something, just Jessup? Or where they actually thought they might actually get some real science out of it? Well, loads of scare stories about it at the start when they were, before they turned the thing on. And of course, since they turned it on, you haven't heard a thing about it. All these people claiming that they were going to, going to create a black hole and it would swallow the earth and time would run backwards and babies that turn green and whatever. And now you don't hear, you haven't heard anything from them. Nobody's sort of gone back to all these people and said, well, what happened then? Where were all these green babies? There we go. Okay, I've got a dark area down. This is where look at the OBS helps, because I can't really see it, but you can see there's a dark area down here and down here, which I don't really see in person. It looked too much like sort of light on water, which of course you don't have on the moon, so I needed to just lose that effect. That looks a bit better now. Looks a bit more like looks a bit better, does that? Looks more like moon dust than river now. Right, this needs to fade a little bit because we've got the dark area over there. We don't want to suddenly have a straight dark edge, so or a light edge. You know, I don't want to just suddenly turn the light off, so to speak. So I need to just make this area sort of do what it's done, really, which is just sort of gradually fade into the darkness. No, I don't think I'll have a problem with that just yet. But you know, Mindy, Cleo ignores me. Felix is only interested in food, and Junior is nice and gentle when he lands. Oh, I know they discovered the Higgs, but you going there for a visit, or are you going there to study? If you're going to visit, and I seem to recall that they did do when they weren't running the collider, they did do some tours of some areas. Cautious Crumpet, that's an interesting name. Thank you very much for following the studio this evening. That is most generous of you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. School trip. In that case, you may even get to see the collider itself. So you're doing some studying there, yeah. Oh well, good luck with the trip. That's one to be envious of. There's a heck of a lot goes on though at CERN, not just the collider. So I know that's the big science, but you know. A lot of work gets done by a lot of scientists and technicians doing things like, you know, analysing data and stuff like that. So it's an amazing place. Now I like some of these darker areas that are around here. It sort of looks right somehow. This around here is a little bit too dark for me. I'd like this to be a bit brighter, so I'll just add a few scratches in and just see how it goes. I'm doing these at an angle to the others. it actually makes it a bit easier to do that in this technique that I'm using, because if I go in the same direction I tend to drop into the same scratches, which just makes them deeper or wider, which sort of brings up high spots more than anything. So by going across, I don't drop into the same lines. And with enough of them like this, it just looks like a texture more than scratches, really. I mean, as I've got it here, when I look at this, the earth looks really sort of quite coarsely textured, but when you look at it at a distance, or you look at it now as you're seeing it on camera, that actually looks quite good. Yeah, unfortunately you can't go in when the beam's on. We can't go in when the beam's on at all, because of the magnets, if I recall correctly, more than anything else. Although, yeah, I think it's because of the magnets, superconducting magnets. Cautious Crumpet, thank you very much, sir. That's very kind. I say sir, excuse me if it's madam, or miss, or pussycat, or doggy, or whatever, you know. On the internet, nobody can tell you're a cat. But thank you very much for that. That's kind of you. This isn't all I do, by the way. We were doing Punchcraft. We do pyrography. That's the royal we. That's me. And carving as well as another art and craft which I did today and yesterday, which I can't actually say at the moment because I used it to make a birthday present for my wife, who is currently just out there, and she'd know what it was if I told you the craft, I'm afraid, but you might get to excuse me, there's a few smaller rings at CERN as well, so you might get to see some of those. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember what some of the CERN t-shirts are, but I can't. You'll have to tell us. And I know there's a couple that only if you're a quantum physicist can you understand. I love doing monochrome images. I accidentally discovered it when I was doing, because I do airbrushing as well, but not on stream. I discovered I did one in I don't quite know. Yeah, that's what it was. I wanted to do. I did a picture of an old. Well, I say an old. It's a new cowboy town made to look old for a film set in Spain, and I wanted to do it like a sepia tinted print, you know, of a photograph. That's an old photograph, and so it was done in just one single colour, sepia toned paint, and not even white or anything else, just literally just the one colour. And I discovered I really enjoyed doing that, so I then tried monochrome, which was white on black, and there you use two colours. Although you generally do it on black paper or black canvas, you use the white paint and you can use the black to erase it. And I kind of really discovered I liked doing that, which is one of the reasons why I like doing the pyrography as well, because whilst you can colour pyrography, I haven't tried that yet. But that's a monochrome image, and I looked at this and thought, well, that's monochrome. And I kind of really like doing this as well. And I am utterly amazed, really, just how a few scratches can resemble the sort of thing you want. In fact, I'll show you the first one I did. This is only the second ever scraper board I've done. I will show you the first one. Right? And I ask you to be kind because this is the first one that I ever have done. I've never touched scraper board before at all. So those of you that know me know what I'm setting you up for you, but those of you that have seen it, but I've never when I show you this, I'd never touched scraper board before in my life. Literally never touched it, and that's my first one. Mertha's M, what did you miss? Just Jessup talking about the Hadron Collider in CERN. Oh, the Hadron Collider and the Cod particle. Yes, okay, I remember that. This is this image on screen now is of a gentleman called John Miles. He was in the charts. It's a good few years ago now. He had his own band and was in the charts with quite a few singles and albums for quite some time. These days he works more behind the scenes. Well, sort of behind the scenes. He organises the Night of the Proms in Europe. He's also, I believe, musical director for it, and also he plays generally on at least one of them. He also is musical director for Tina Turner, usually when she tours in Europe. I don't know about the States, but in Europe, and he plays as lead guitarist on stage as well. And actually, he also gave us, I think if I recall correctly, he gave us permission to use one of his songs in my wife and I's wedding. But that's John Miles. That's the first one, and that's the second one. I don't know about that, Martha, but I think the experience of doing some of the other things made it easier, shall we say, to do. But you know, I've kind of found my own technique. In fact, I've got my wife bought me a kit for Christmas, and I've never not done it yet, and I'm assuming it's going to try and teach me some techniques, so maybe I'll have to do the kit at one point. But thank you for that compliment. I want to get this a bit lighter, just around here. I don't quite know what I want this to look like. It's not quite what I want, but I don't know quite what I want at the moment. Which of course makes it really, really difficult when you don't know what you want to get what you want. But I think what I'll probably end up doing with this is just looking at areas and going, you know what, I want that a bit brighter, and I'll do that, and then I'll keep on doing it, that sort of thing, until I go, hey, you know what, I'm happy with this, I'm leaving it. Mirth US. Okay. Mirth Us. Is that Mirth Us? Yeah, Mirth Us. Mirth Us M. Okay, Mirth Us. Without the M on the end. Because I do try to use people's names as they you would like them to be used, rather than just shortening them. I know it's easy to shorten them, but and very occasionally I am no choice but to do that because I just can't get my tongue around them. But so Mirthus, Mirthos, Mirth, us. The English language and spelling, mirth. Yeah, it could be us or us. Not quite sure. Mirth. Well, unless you say otherwise, I'll say Mirthus. If you prefer it the other way, let me know. Mirthus. Dear. But thank you for correcting me. That's okay. I don't mind people doing that. As I say, I'd like to use your names as you'd like them to be used. It's lucky that I don't actually mind being shortened all that often. Incidentally, well, I might as well tell you the story. The people that have often in the past asked me where my name comes from. You know, the pseudonym that is, as opposed to my real name. The Zaragoza art. And there's been some interesting theories, but the gentleman whose portrait I showed you, John Miles, actually has an album called Zaragoza, and that's where the name comes from. It was one of my wife's favourite albums. She's a lifelong fan of John Miles, and she kind of picked the name. And the art bit actually comes because in a lot of places Zaragoza has been taken, so I couldn't actually register that on sites. So because of the art, it became Zaragoza art. That area is looking better now as to what I want it to be. The whole horizon has got a bit more of a lightness to it because of the way the light's just bleeding over the edge. So we'll add some more lighting on that edge. And quite literally, the marks I'm making here, you're probably seeing the brightness come up, relatively speaking, quite a lot. But the marks I'm making here, and I'm going to try and see if I can just show you some of them, because I'm going to zoom this camera in as much as I can, and then I'll focus it and adjust it so that you can see. Okay, now hopefully, well, apart from the dust that's on them, you should be able to see some of those lines, like these lines here. And you can see the size of this. You're probably getting an idea now, the size of the scratch from the size of the tool. And what I'm just going to do is leave the tool there and put my finger next to the tool. Now, hopefully that's giving you an idea of some of the fineness of some of those scratches. They are, you could probably get about 10 of those scratches in the width of a human hair. They are that fine, some of the scratches coming off the tip of this. But it's making that much of a difference. And I'll zoom the camera back out now. It's making that much of a difference to the brightness of the image that you're seeing. Mirthus. Okay, the M goes to the last name. Okay, Mirthus M. That's fine. Yeah. I didn't know you streamed, Mirthus. Mirthus. What do you stream? Carving, perhaps? I don't know. Tell me what you stream. I am interested. I love, well, I love watching people do things like this. This is, whatever I've been doing, but I have a preference for watching people do physical art as opposed to electronic art, which I still find fascinating, by the way. But I just, because I do some of it myself even. But if I've got a choice to watch, I generally will watch people doing physical art things. But yeah, cool. What do you actually stream? And if it's games, that's okay as well. Although these days I don't watch so many games. Just don't have the time. There's too much interesting stuff going on in creative. There we go, that's raised the brightness up just on that horizon a little bit. It's a bit dark around here, so let's make that a bit brighter as well. So the white underneath here is porcelain clay, which of course is a white clay. And it's interesting the way this texture is building up because of this. It actually looks rather like a moonscape surface, because it's not particularly it's not a smooth textured moon, of course. So you're getting like little high spots and low spots sort of dotted around. Well, other than a time zone problem, Merthis, I will try my best. And unfortunately, I've got no control of the advertisements. I shall give the advertisements a little bit of time to play. Sorry, I can't do anything about them. I'm not a partner. You get 3 minutes normally of adverts, I'm afraid. Nothing I can do about that at all. But I have just followed you, Merthis, so if I am available at the time when you go live, I certainly will watch you carving. I'm more likely to watch you carving than I am to watch you play a game, I'm afraid. But I will endeavour to have a go at catching you live. That's in that area there, yeah. It is weird looking at a screen. For so long now I've had a Cintiq where I can actually draw on screen, and it's weird looking at the screen and doing something on the table. That doesn't look bad. Not very well, Edic Von King, so if you would speak English, that would be very much appreciated, thank you. And I'm sure a lot of the other people in the stream would appear that as well. Thank you very much, that's kind of you. And actually, that's probably about the limit of my German as well, I'm sorry. I know we English really should know some other languages. I did know a little bit of Danish at one point, but that has essentially gone out of my comprehension as well these days. I did start to learn it, but life took over. Yeah, that's coming along quite nicely, is that now? I'm getting some lighter and darker areas, and what I'm trying to do is not create one thing I'm really trying to avoid is like a straight line. I mean, I know I've got one here, but this is kind of a shadow. So what you might imagine, for example, is that, I don't know, there's a lunar module sat just off the side here and it's casting a shadow. So you because there's no atmosphere, you have a really sharp edged shadow. So that's okay, but anywhere else, any sorts of shadows are really just different colours of moon dust and reflection. So I'm trying my best not to create any sort of hard edges anywhere or straight lines. No, not even Russian. Or to talk to me, Murthas. Or to talk to me. No, I mean, I understood what Edic Von King asked there. Actually, partly because it's very similar to the Danish way of saying the same thing, or saying English or Danish. But that's why I understood it. But no, you know more language than I do. My wife can speak Greek quite well, when she can be persuaded to do so. The only problem quite often is when she's speaking to people, or would like to speak to people in Greek, they would like to speak to her in English, so, and have her speak English so that they can practice their understanding. Now that horizon line is a little bit thin. So I just want to boost it a little bit. As I said, I don't have in mind what this actually wants to look like. I do know it doesn't look like what I want it to look like, which I know that sounds silly because I don't know what it wants to look like, but it's really just a case of I'm going to keep fiddling with it until it does look like whatever it is I think it should be. I enjoy doing this as well. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't enjoy it, but I actually enjoy all the art forms that I do. The problem is there isn't enough time in the day to do all of them. Which is kind of why I'm grateful to you guys watching me, because it's kind of, well, it is forcing me to do more art and actually just do it. Quite often I will, I was going to say prevaricate, big long word. I will spend ages trying to decide, what picture I should do, or what I should carve, something like that. And ultimately it's a case of I will not start for many months until I've found just the right thing, and then I probably can't. And with streaming, of course, I have to do something or not stream. I suppose I could just come on stream and talk and just show the hands, the famous hands. But it's actually making me do things, and I'm immensely enjoying it. And I thank you guys very much for watching, because you're helping me do just that. You're actually making me do art. And whether you call some of the stuff I do, whether you call it an art or a craft, nah. I mean, this is definitely art, but the Punchcraft is kind of debatable whether it's an art or a craft or whatever. But depends on your definitions. But something like in the last 3 years, I've probably I've been streaming now about 6 weeks, I think. I've done more art in those 6 weeks than I did in the last 3 or 4 years, and it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I did 3 years of French at school and a year of German at school, but that's school is 40 odd years ago for me, just Jessup. Yeah, that's the best way of learning, though. Well, no, it's not. I think that's the best way of learning, Murthas, is when you've got a reason to do so you know people and you'd like to speak to them in their own language. Very true. And the cats. Not quite sure I understand that last statement, unless you're suggesting that cats have a language. And they kind of do. I would say you kind of understand what a cat is saying when it says something, sometimes. I can usually tell when owls are hungry, for example, and they're asking for food, as opposed to asking to be let out the door, even if they're actually sat by the food bowl. And generally I go, "You've got a cat door, go out the cat door." And they sit there and ignore me until I open the door. What do we want? Still rather dark in this area, I think. Let's see if we can make a bit light, especially around here. It's a bit of a rise in the surface, so we'll add a little bit more light, because the light's sort of behindish. So we'll make that a bit brighter like that, and then we'll just generally lighten up around here. Careful not to scratch into the same space too many times. This nib has actually blunted off, and I may actually need to change it. It's actually surprising me how quickly the nibs aren't as sharp as they were. And you think all I'm doing is scraping through a layer of ink into porcelain clay, but then again, clay is quite abrasive, so I suppose I shouldn't really be surprised, but I am. That looks a little bit odd there. Let's just join those two little tiny bits together. Like that. That's it. There are some techniques of doing this that use quite bold, thick lines and cross-hatching. I actually find I like it better with lots of these fine scratches. Okay. Let's say I'm over 50, Murthas. 50 plus. And I was referring to Talkie and the Famous Hands. Not sure I understand that one, but unless you're thinking of the famous Arthur advert with the cat which goes in the bowl, sorry, goes in the tin and scoops the cat food out. Mindy, actually, the cat that you saw the Punchcraft of, she used to do that. You could open the tin and she'd scoop it out herself. I don't know whether on the advert it was a real cat or not, but real cats do that sort of thing. Or at least one. None of our others have done that. I've got too strong a line going in that direction a little bit around here, so just going across it in the other direction just to lose the angular line, which creates like a high spot or a bright spot there, but you know, that's not bad. There's nobody to say that doesn't exist on the moon somewhere. Actually, I've got a leather strap. I could potentially sharpen this tip. I might have to think about doing that. On the other hand, I can just turn the tool around a little bit until it gets the right edge. Oh well, that's not bad. You know what, guys, at the moment it's 11:15 in the UK here, and I have work tomorrow morning. Well, hopefully I have work tomorrow morning. I shall see how I feel when I get up, because I may end up having to take the day off work if I can't sit still for very long. I'm getting to the point now where I can't sit still. The wounds are bothering me a little bit. So I actually am going to give up for this evening and go and take a rest, have a drink and have a look at some streams. Go have a look in a couple of sweet shops. That's not literal. That's kind of tool shops and art supply shops. And just drool over a few things, although I do need to order some tools. And then just generally have a bit of a chill time before I give up and go to bed. So we'll come back to this again some other time. I'm hoping we'll be carving tomorrow. If we're not, then I may do some more of this, but I'm hoping to be carving, and we'll maybe pick this up at some other time, maybe on a weekend or when the carving's finished before I start pyrography. And we'll see how things go. But what I want to do is say thank you very much, Just Jessup. The Anne Freeman. I don't recall that one. I'm an old English man, so I don't remember Zap. It's probably a slightly less than old thing. A bit Mickey Mouse or CSI is the way it's been described to me before. You shouldn't have another ad, Murthas. It's not me playing them, definitely not. And Twitch shouldn't normally play them, I don't think, unless you've had an interruption somewhere and your browser refreshed, because that generally does tend to throw you another ad. Mind you, you're probably watching now, because that was a few minutes ago, wasn't it? I want to say thank you to everybody who has been watching me today. It's been immensely helpful in taking my mind off things, and that's I should take a look at YouTube for Zap. Okay, maybe we shall see. That depends on me remembering. I want to say, everybody, thank you who has watched, and those of you who have followed me, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. If there is anybody else who's watching that would like to follow me, I certainly appreciate it greatly. Thank you. And it does, of course, mean that Twitch should, in theory, tell you when I go live, so you'd be able to see me again. And I understand the iOS app actually does work quite well. I don't know about the rest of Twitch. But if you don't trust it, then you are welcome to follow me on Twitter as well. Below the stream window there's the details, but at Zaragonart is on Twitter. About the only tweet that goes out is, hey, Zaragonart's gone live. And you are unlikely to see any other tweets from me. I'm not a great one for tweeting. I'm afraid, or that's good depending on your point of view. And Murthas, if you want to PM me some picture information, I am quite happy to take a look and we can have a chat. Keeping this thing clean, I'm going to have to see, there's some sort of fixative I can put over the top that will protect it, but I've not come across it yet. Yeah, so alternatively, if you just want to try and catch me when I go live again, Monday to Friday during the week, and on weekends as well, because I do stream on the weekends. During Monday to Friday and weekend evenings, you'll find me on stream generally around 8 PM UK, 1900 hours GMT, or roughly, I start roughly about 3 hours ago, because we're now coming up to 11 o'clock in the UK. So whatever time zone you're in, take a look at your clock, go backwards 3 hours, that's about the time I start. On weekends, depends on how I feel, what else is going on, but sometimes you'll catch me doing an ad hoc stream in the afternoon from about 2 o'clock. That will be 6 hours earlier than my normal time. Again, just do a bit of maths with the clock and you should be there. Apart from that, again, thank you all for watching. It has been really fun having you around and having you see what I'm doing, encouraging me to carry on doing this and taking my mind off the surgery. That's fantastic. Have a good evening, everybody, and see you later.